Pete, this week I have two very, very important questions for you to answer. Are you ready?
I'm so ready.
All right. Number one, you ever had social anxiety?
No, I don't know about that. What are we talking about?
No? Doesn't ring a bell, social anxiety?
You want to read it in my book?
Yeah. So you've had social anxiety. Hey, Pete, second question. You ever use nose spray? I don't like this character I'm doing.
Okay. I just need to show you my nose spray.
Nose spray right there. That's
Not
perfect.
only that, I actually keep it in a wee holster right in the small of my back.
That's like all the jocks do. You're the coolest. Well, social anxiety and nasal spray, get ready to put those two great tastes together because Vistagen Therapeutics out of San Francisco, California, is finishing clinical trials of the snazzily named PH94B, which is an odorless nasal spray that has therapeutic potential for anxiety disorders, including SAD, social anxiety disorder. I don't like this way that I'm talking. I'm going to calm down. In phase 2 clinical trials of March this year, PH94B produced rapid onset anti-anxiety effects within 15 minutes.
What?
This is a nose spray you shoot in your face and it makes you less. This is like happening right now.
I would
right
do
now
that
they're
in
coming
a
up with this.
Freaking heartbeat.
Right?
Are you kidding?
I am not kidding. And there's a big game changer part of it, even more than the fact that it's like a nose spray, and that's weirdly dope. It's not a benzodiazepine like Valium, Xanax, or Klonopin.
Okay.
Because, and why this is important, because benzos, that's what I like to call them, can be effective, but they can also be addictive or tolerance building. But PH94B is different. Do you want to know why?
Of course.
Duh, because PH94B had no significant effect on GABA potentiation at doses up to 10 micromolar, you idiot. Okay. Sorry. All of this, this is all so new and happening right now. Almost all the information is actually coming from clinical trials, which read like legit another language. So I don't have a lot of like hand-holdy facts other than the fact that it works. And they've been doing these tests, clinical trials, where you take it and then you have to give like difficult speeches in front of large crowds and stuff. And it is having remarkable effects within 15 minutes.
Well, I can tell you, I got so excited the moment you started talking about social anxiety nasal spray that I started trying to find it on Amazon. It's not there yet.
No, it's coming. It should be coming, but it's a non-addictive nasal spray that you shoot in your face, and then 15 minutes later, you feel a ton better. Not bad, science.
Not bad. And you know what? I think science should really lean in on solutions to complex problems that are resolved by shooting you in the face.
No, with nasal spray. Or you don't want to limit. You don't want to put handcuffs on science.
No.
Yeah. Just shoot it in my face. Yeah.
I've been on the road, I've been doing shows. Now we eating steak, remember sleeping on the floor. We Stealing at the gas station when the time was cold. In the kitchen, hot still trying to flip it out the stove. Rocking fake J's, praying that nobody know. Watch them take my dog away, it was way too hard to stay composed. Fight to see the light of day, all this blood on my clothes. I was tired every day, green light, it's time to go.
Welcome to What's That Smell, a sometimes funny podcast about humans and their anxieties. I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Tommy Metz III.
And each and every week we drag one of our deepest, darkest anxieties into the light to share it, learn about it,
and hopefully laugh about it with all of you.
Reach out. Send us the story of your anxieties. How do you do that? I'm so glad you asked. You visit whatsthatsmell.net, and right at the very top, it'll say, hey, submit your anxiety. And you can do that. You just click on the button, and then it's a little form that pops up, and it just says, hey, what's your name? You want to tell us? We'll take it. Otherwise, maybe your initials are fine. And then you hit tab, and it'll go to the next field. And then again to the next field, and then you just start typing. You just say, hey, here's what I'm scared of. Here's what I'd love to hear you research. Here's what I need you to get to the bottom of for me. That's what I need you to do right now. Can you help me, Pete? Tommy, can you hook us up? And then you hit submit, and then we have it. And then it'll show up on the show like magic.
Oh, anxiety magic.
And with that, I'll go first.
I can't go no more. Red light, no way, I'm coming back home. Long dirt road all on my own. I'ma be the greatest, write my name in the stone.
Tom.
Peter.
I don't want to put you down. I don't want to get you in a down mood because you're in a good mood. You're feeling good. You're in a good space. But I do have to ask you a question.
Okay.
The question that I have for you is this. What are you going to get from your parents when they pass away?
Guilt?
Do you know? I mean, do you know? Like, are they?
Yes, they actually, because, well, there's no reason to go into that, but yes, we have gone through and they have made sure that all affairs are in order and all of that. Correct.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that's good, because I think it's important that you know what it is that's, I guess, coming your way, right? I'm the same. I'm not talking about numbers. I don't need bank account numbers. I don't need trusts, estates.
Yeah.
I don't need any of that. I'm just thinking about like the things that you will be handed down upon, things that are coming your way.
Sure.
Like, do you have a sense of what those are? Because I've been thinking a lot about that lately.
Why?
And, well, I had this conversation with my son last night. We'll get to it in a minute. I mean, because I'm in the same boat as you. When I think about what my parents have given me or are planning to pass on, they're still around, bless them. Like, they're in Colorado, they're doing their thing. I don't know exactly. I know where the safe deposit box keys are. I know, I'm an only child, so I get files every now and again. I get this thing they send me, and they say, "Hey, here's something you should keep for one day." And we all know what one day means. Like, one day means it's the end of days.
Sure.
But none of that stuff really matters, right? None of that stuff really matters. So I started thinking about like what I really get from my parents, mostly because I had this conversation with my son last night. And because he comes into me and he says, he's a big Fortnite player. You know Fortnite, the game,
I do.
Fortnite Nation. Fortnite Nation, are you a big Fortnite person?
No,
you don't play.
I don't like playing against real people. It stresses me out.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So, but he loves it, and he's a huge fan of like skins, right? And skins in Fortnite are like, it's a total racket, because none of the skins or add-ons that you buy are like help you in your gameplay at all.
Skins is like an outfit that your character,
like an outfit
that your avatar
character.
is wearing.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Oh, you want to play as Harley Quinn today? You could do that. There's a special promotion, and you spend some V-Bucks, and you get, you get this. Those V-Bucks you get through either grinding in another game mode, or you get by buying
in-game
V-Bucks.
purchases.
Yeah, in-game purchases, which are so bogus. Doesn't help you play the game.
Right.
You're just spending real money for fake things that have no value.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I have had kind of a long relationship with him about this, where it's like, he knows I think it's foolish to spend that money on fake things.
Yep.
And he still wants to do it anyway. So it's always like, well, buddy, it's your hard-earned money, your babysitting money, your whatever money, but I guess you could do it. So I try the passive-aggressive horrible dad stuff.
Yep.
And that doesn't work. So last night he comes in, he's been doing some work around the house for us that we've been paying him for, because it's above and beyond the Call of Duty. We have, projects. And he says, okay, so I think I've got like $80 cash now, and I'm thinking about what I could get. I'm like, wait a minute.
Oh.
$80 now you want to throw at fake things?
Oh, he wanted to spend all of that on skin.
Yeah,
so gross.
Yeah.
I shouldn't call it skin. Yeah.
Don't know. It has to have the S.
Skins, yeah.
So we had to have an intervention, and it hit me just then that this behavior that he is exhibiting right now is me.
This is what you're handing down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, no.
And I didn't realize just how much anxiety I carry around. It like erupted out of me. And I sort of ejected stories into my bedroom onto him of like my history and like how I got myself into trouble after college with just like that, just spending money because it was just the little nickel and dime stuff. And then how I played so much like Sim City on the iPhone and spent real money for fake things. And it's just that it is that addictive personality thing that I live with. And I live with it now around food. My relationship with food is still terrible. It's bogus. It's the worst. And because it's like your brain tells you, hey, you need to have this little satisfaction. And what we called it last night, my son and I, was the emotional boner. And that you get this. You get this little emotional boner when you spend your skin money
All right. Okay. We're not talking about skin money and boners.
You're fine. You're doing great.
All right.
So that's where we are. And I
because
started
it's
realizing,
like a
oh my
little
God.
reward? Is that the point?
Yeah, it's that little dopamine hit, right? It's that little dopamine hit. And
this really just came upon
you.
You weren't saying, hey, let's have an intervention because you saw it in yourself. Like this really came out of nowhere.
It came out of nowhere. Nowhere. And I've been thinking about it for the last 18 hours, I've been thinking, oh my God, this is me. And I realized this is the stuff that I am handing down to my kids because it just really bothered me because what we think about when we think about things we've handed down, there's sweet songs about it and all this stuff. We think about handing down like these treasured gifts that come through a family, and none of that matters. What really matters is I just gave my kids anxiety, right?
No.
I gave them anxiety, and so so I talked to Dr. Dodge, right? Who's a friend of the show, Dr. Dodge, who was very helpful last week, and he told me the following. He said, worrying about what we're handing down is very understandable, and naturally. It's likely worse than you think.
No.
Most of what you have saved so carefully is just misplaced by your children, but plenty of it is either mislabeled or totally misunderstood. Needless to say, all the rest is just thrown away.
Wait. So he's positing that you have been filling your children up with stuff and it's not even correctly labeled or thought of. It's just all like there in like a horrible soup. Oh,
right.
No.
He goes on, we really should focus on all the terrible habits we leave for our children because this is our true legacy. I, for example, bite my fingernails until they bleed, something I've proudly inherited from my father. You can imagine already all the ways your children will remember you. Now, this was all, I think, we went off on a terrible tangent about the fact that he is a bona fide psychotherapist, and this is horrible tone. Even if it might be true,
right?
That it should be a segment called "It's Likely Worse Than You Think" with Dr. Dodge Ray, because that's not the purpose of the show,
right?
And yet, this is the nut of my anxiety about the things that I've handed down. Like I can imagine the ways my children will remember me because I know the way I talk about my parents, and they're not gone yet, right? I already think about the things that I have inherited. I don't think about the dishes or the flatware or the photo books or anything else. The legacy that I collect from my parents and their parents is, and their parents before them is a legacy of like alcoholism, and like that's the history, and that's the thing that fills me with existential dread. That my kids have only been on the planet for less than 2 decades, and I'm already completely paralyzed by the emotional baggage I'm leaving them with.
Are you emotional baggage? Are you more worried, or is it across the board? Are you more worried about emotional things or physical things? Like biting your fingernails, alcoholism, I consider those to be more physical things than anxiety or overindulgence, like you were talking about food or skins, stuff like that.
I don't think there's a more in that. I think it's all just a big cornucopia of awesome.
And I like how you phrase it as how they will remember you versus what you're filling them up with. But they both means the same thing.
They kind of mean the same thing. But it's just an interesting,
yeah. But it's like the dark part of your legacy.
Yeah. And when you think about it, I mean, look at you. You're doing a whole history thing on the Civil War, right? And
I am taking
there's a study. You're taking we call it a whole history thing on the Civil War. You could call it a course at UCLA and sound all official.
Yeah. You're doing a real book class desk.
Yeah, right. And I just watched that horrible movie Alexander, which is really a treatise on emotional stuff. And these are characters, like these are legendary figures of history, and we still remember them in terms of what they did, but also the fact that they were like massive anxiety vessels, and so much of what drove them to war was mania fueled by fear. Right. And this was like when years had BCE after them, right? Like this is thousands of years ago, and we still think about history in terms of mental and emotional distress.
Right. But relate that to parents then. Because so much of it is handed down, you mean?
Yep.
Got it.
Because it's handed down. So this is obviously nothing new, but when you have that feeling when you're just going along fine in your day and all of a sudden you're struck as if by lightning with a new blossoming anxiety, something you've never thought about and then you can't let go of. And that is what my kids are inheriting from me. And it's the worst. So,
oh my God. Well, just about 5 to 6 days ago, I have been doing more inner work, gross, but with my therapist's help, being a little more, instead of just like...
You and the other moms on Wisteria Lane?
Yeah, it's rosé all day, and we're really doing our inner work. No, I've been being more conscious about what I'm going through instead of just sitting and marinating in anxiety, which is what I've done for most of my life. Like, What are you really dealing with? And anyways, I was walking with Foster. And luckily no one was around, but I was walking and I was thinking, I won't tell you exactly what it was, but I said out loud, "Oh, right, daddy issues." And I just kind of yelled that out loud because I do have father issues, unfortunately, as all brilliant people do.
But that's exactly it. There's even a trope for it. Daddy issues. Yeah. Of course there is.
I know.
Yeah. So
I pronounce it daddy.
Can you roll some off for me? Like, what'd you get from your dad? Come on. He doesn't listen, does he?
They do. They're like seasons behind.
6,
but
they're way behind. It'll be years before you have to face them on this.
It can all sort of be summed up in a bunch of little squiggly, like those maps of gerrymandering, where it's not like a square. It's like this crazy, twisty, hard to follow thing. But they all lead back to wanting to impress my father.
Yeah.
Because while our relationship is wonderful now and has been for so long and has always been very strong, I think there was a getting used to because I'm not like him. He was a big football star. He works in business and has briefcase files. And I do none of those things. I was writing skits for choir concerts and all of these things, directing little shows and stuff. And I think it took him a while. He really did the work, but it took him a while to understand, what? That's not dribbling. Like, I don't know what dads do. That's not woodwork we talked about last week. So so always trying to...
you're singing in an a cappella group, don't you, Tom?
Yeah. Do you think this is tennis? And I'm like, wait, oh no. Just wanting his approval and us sort of having to come up with a different language in order to figure that out.
Yeah. For me, both of my parents, I feel like I've inherited their same struggles with, food, health anxiety, money, stuff. Like it's just all sort of this melange. And my family in general, not my parents necessarily. My parents actually, in terms of dealing and living with addiction, to me are real role models because like my dad effectively stopped drinking when I was like 2. Like I only hear stories of when he used to drink. And it
was big time for him.
Well, his dad killed himself with alcohol. Like this was the one. Oh, you're going to love this. Didn't I ever tell you this story? My granddad was in trigger alert.
Okay.
This is a urological trigger warning. He used to go golfing with his urologist, and they would go into the bathroom, and this is when all the male bathrooms had just trough urinals, right? You just walk up to the trough and let it go. And there were his doctor would like notice my granddad's stream and would see pieces of decaying liver coming out of him.
Oh my God. You did say trigger warning, but oh my God.
And his response was always, we need to talk about your drinking. And that didn't take. And grandmother died of emphysema, like smoking.
Wow.
Literally suffocated to death.
So I assume if that's the case, you don't let it mellow. All right. All right, folks. This has been What's That Smell?
Wow. All right. So anyway, addictive traits, spending fake money on real things, needles, all these things that we're handing down to deal with. So let's talk about what to do.
Yeah, what do you do about this? Because I think I have never planned on having children. I've loved being an uncle. Like, I have a lot of children in my life, creeps. But, like I have, that's very important to me. But it's also, I think there is a sort of a piece of me that is worried what I would pass on.
Yeah. No, if I were in your shoes, I would absolutely be worried what I'm about to pass on. No, look, that's wrong.
That's just rude.
Dr. Susan Newman and Dr. Alice Boyes. Alice Boyes is the author of the Anxiety Toolkit.
Okay.
And their entire model here is like, how do you prevent passing on your fears? And first things first, to get this out, you can't avoid passing on a lot of your stuff, right? It's just how it works. And part of it, that's the great gift of parenting, is your kids are going to get stuff from you. It just is. And so
the handshake that comes with is you're also passing on a lot of good stuff. Without
absolutely
even knowing it. I didn't mean to skip ahead, but yeah.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. And so a lot of this, of focusing on your kids, is really focusing on you, right? Mm-hmm. It's focusing on teaching yourself language and accommodations to move through your own anxiety under the subtle disguise of not presenting it to your kids, right? So, steps. First, if you have a persistent fear, allow other adults in your child's life to model a lack of fear, right? For me, I have, so let's just say I'm still dealing with my paralyzing fear of needles. It sure does help that I have a partner and my spouse who absolutely doesn't fear needles and loves it, and loves getting blood drawn and loves all of that.
She's a real freak about it. Yeah,
she does. She just looks at it. She got one of the highest compliments ever received is, "Oh, you have great veins."
Ooh,
I mean, who likes
veins.
that?
Yeah.
Right. So
no, I'm
sexy.
the same way.
No.
I think if you remember when I got the vaccine, I was like, deeper.
Yeah. Okay. The other one, which I think is really great, and I think it's something that we try to do around here a lot, which is paying attention to your language. Mm-hmm. And this one centers on two little but very, very big words. And those words are be and careful.
Okay.
A lot of times when you're watching others, and this can be watching adults or watching kids, you're watching them and you are afraid of something. So you say, be careful to them.
Yes. And so you're putting fear, you're instilling fear.
You're literally instilling fear in your kids. Instead, you really need to focus on the other attributes of the experience, right? The other attributes are being reflective about what you're afraid of and looking at it the other way. So you might not say, instead of saying like, hey, you notice how high off the ground that platform is on that treehouse? It's really high. You might say, golly, look at how sturdy that platform is, right? You're acknowledging the strength of it and not the height that might be fearful. Or, social anxiety. God, I know you must be really scared about playing with those other kids you don't know on the playground. You might turn that into, God, I think those kids are smiling in your direction. I think they might be looking forward to playing with you.
Oh.
What a pivot.
Yeah.
Right?
Gaslighter. No. But do you think, does that, should you then not ask children about their anxiety? Or is that a different thing? Because I think you should be open about, because one is coming from them, the other's coming from you. Right. Mm-hmm. So checking in with your children about, are you feeling anxious, or if they're exhibiting something, is fine, because that's good.
Yes.
But not
absolutely
putting something there that wasn't there. Got it. Good.
Well, and again, it's all about pivoting this language, which is what I think is so important, which is like telling, like when they come to you and say, I'm scared of something, it's okay to say that. But and I think I might be in that phase where my kids are old enough where I get to have conversations about, emotional boners and my very real and troubled history with some of these things and lessons I've had to learn, dare I say, the hard way, as a, may my life serve as a warning to others kind of experience, right? Like I want him to hear that I'm not perfect. And he's old enough now where, like, I would not have had this conversation with him when he was 9. Because all that's doing is mistreating my son as somebody who is more mature than he actually is. He's not able to handle those conversations.
He's not a peer quite yet. Right. But now he's an older teenager, and I can come to him and say, "Look, let's talk for real about what I am observing in you and what I observe in me. And I'm not mad. You're not in trouble, but I do need to tell you that I'm worried. And here's why: because this behavior has real life implications on how you look at the world and how you get to live in it." And so you're also including vulnerability in there, which is very important.
Well, here's hoping.
What I learned as an uncle very early on, and that I'm actually terrified I'm going to do in a non-appropriate situation, is when a really little one falls down, you go, "Yay!" Instead of... Instead of, "Oh no," because when you go, "Oh no," they start crying. If you go, "Yay," or like, "Hooray," everything's fine, because they're basing it off of your reaction. Now, when I do that in an elderly home, it's not as appreciated. But yeah, that's the exact same idea. It's just in more of a rudimentary form of just like not exacerbating.
Around our house, we have I was in high school, I was in the world premiere musical, The Red Badge of Courage.
Oh.
The musical.
That was a musical?
I imagine you really, really like that because, you're into
Civil
war and stuff.
Yeah.
No, so so I was in the musical of it, and that has like instilled in me that whole experience of like when you get hurt, when it's just Red Badge of Courage.
Got it.
You just got scraped.
Yeah.
Like you did that. That means you did a hard thing. Yeah. You did a hard thing, and you paid the ultimate red badge price. Way to go. Like live on and leave that as a badge of honor. Right.
That's usually when I go to a park, my pockets are filled with Purple Hearts, and I'm just giving them out to toddlers and then finding a new park. If you could pick, what is one of the biggest things that you would like to leave your children?
Selective memory?
Sure. Your huge collection of nose sprays.
As far back as the Neolithic period, neo meaning new and lithic meaning stone, cave artists captured images of soldiers with wrapped legs and feet in the caves of Tassili in Sahara. In 1600 BCE, the Edwin Smith papyrus demonstrated the same sort of mechanical limb pressure treatment for lower extremities. Hippocrates used the same treatment in 400 BC. Galen did the same with wool and linen in 130 BC. Oribasius tackled leg ulcers with it too in 324 CE. You'll find the same evidence through the Middle Ages across Europe, but it was William Harvey in 1628 who discovered the direct connection between venous stasis, a slowing of blood flow in the extremities, and external pressure. That is, of course, what brings us to Allen Iverson on January 21st, 2001, who took to the court with what many thought was a white length of pantyhose on his right arm. Iverson had developed bursitis in his elbow. It was swelling. Not great in Iverson's shooting arm. But his trainer, Lenny Currier, gave him a compression stockinette and suggested he give it a try in a game. Iverson scored 51 points that night and averaged 35 points per game for the rest of the season. He wore that supporting sleeve for the rest of his NBA career through his retirement in 2011. Of course, most of us don't play professional basketball, but compression sleeves can prevent vein diseases like varicose veins, phlebitis, and deep vein thrombosis, and give extra stability and support to athletes of all stripe. In that way, you might say, the What's That Smell Panic Pals are our compression sleeves, and you can be too. When you become a WTS Panic Pal, you're supporting independent podcasting. We don't track you. We only collect information we need to send you member stuff. No advertising, just 12 more hot episodes of steaming podcast content. And members will get to join us for our live stream recording sessions, early access to each episode in their own personal podcast feed, and a collection of our new Season 6 stickers. Your donation will not renew. This is a one-time contribution to support the production of Season 6 of What's That Smell? Our deepest thanks to you, our Panic Pal compression sleeves, for your dedication and support.
Pete, do you have a lucky number?
No, and I feel shame about it.
Really? How come?
Because I know that I should have the number 13 because that was my grandfather's lucky number. And he loved it so much that he actually had a building and he made sure that his office was on the 13th floor because it was so lucky. So I feel like I should inherit that number, speaking of inheritance. And then there's the number 42, which is the meaning of life, right? From
Douglas Adams?
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And I feel like I should take that on. I don't have any other lucky number. I don't know what to do.
Wait,
I feel like that's not a thing I have.
Your grandfather's lucky number was 13? Is this when he was growing up in opposite town?
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
It's his favorite number. Started an oil business and he made sure that all the most important sort of headquarters offices were on the 13th floor because he felt so strongly about it.
Really? Well,
yeah.
There's no better lead-in than to Pete. This week, I am in charge of a listener submission. First and foremost. And it's from friend of the show, June Summers. She has sent in something before, and I'm just going to go ahead and read it. And I think everyone will know why. Hi, Pete and Tommy. It's me, Panic Pal and listener June again. I was just listening to this awesome old 1940s tune by Les Brown called Triskaidekaphobia on the radio and immediately thought of you guys. Have you ever covered that common phobia? I actually thought at first that it meant the fear of Triscuits or crackers or something until I heard the rest of the lyrics, LOL. Anyway, my grandmother was kind of a superstitious German woman, but she didn't have this fear. She got married on that date, and my grandpa stuck a little black cat in her bouquet. What's wrong with this family? What's the story behind this anxiety? Signed, June. Okay. Triskaidekaphobia, Pete. Have you heard of it before?
Is that a fear of the number 13?
It is. Triskaidekaphobia, an incredibly common phobia, granted to different levels, but across America. Did you know that this was an option of a phobia?
No,
because
I did not know it was an option.
No, because your grandfather called you Little 13, and he always had like 13 carrots every dinner.
No, I absolutely 13 was never a number that anybody was afraid of in our house.
Interesting, but you know that it lives out in the world.
Of course. And I know that, isn't it in China, it means death and something like that.
We'll get there. So. Yes. So anyways, It's Triskaidekaphobia, Triskaideka, which is the Greek word for 13, and Phobos, the Greek god of yikes. It is also related to Frigatriskaidekaphobia.
I'm really scared.
Do you want to guess what
the number 13?
Do you want to guess what that is?
You did say freaking scared of 13.
It is Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th.
Okay, wait a minute. Say it again, the word.
Frigatriskaidekaphobia. Frigga is the name of the Norse goddess for whom Friday is named after.
I had no idea any of this. All of this is news to me.
This is exciting. Okay. First, let's hear a little bit of that Les Brown ditty that June mentioned, which I'd immediately never heard of and I find absolutely delightful.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
You're getting closer.
9, 10, 11, 12.
Oh no! Stop! Please don't say that next number. Triskaidekaphobia. I got Triskaidekaphobia. And Triskaidekaphobia has got me.
There should be a song for every anxiety that's just like this. Les Brown, come on.
Sidewalk grates. Yeah, just like everything. Yeah.
I'm afraid of needles. Oh no, you're bleeding.
We can make one, and that could be our song of the week every week.
Oh, yeah. God, that's brilliant.
It is delightful. I don't even know who Les Brown is, so this was all great. Thank you, first and foremost, June, for putting that in my life. And now let's talk about 13 real quick. If any of our listeners have a fear of this number, unlike Pete and his weird family, or even just a basic uneasiness, just looking at how that number is treated in real estate and travel tells you, of course, you are very much not alone. Air France, Ryanair, Alaska Airlines, and Lufthansa do not have row 13 on most of their aircraft. In 2015, the New York City-based housing data firm City Realty released a study that found that out of 629 buildings with 13 or more floors, only 9% of the condos actually have 13th floors that are labeled as such. Almost everywhere you go, it jumps from 12 to 14. In January of this year, here's one more for you. The Otis Elevators Company, which is the largest elevator company in the world, estimates that 85% of the buildings with their elevators do not have a 13th floor. This was the part that I was going to ask you, Pete. Does the number 13th or Friday the 13th give you the willies at all? Sounds like straight up no.
Straight up no. I don't have any association to Friday the 13th. I do know when it comes because everybody says, "Oh, happy Friday the 13th," and I'm like, okay.
Okay. You mean just a day. And you're like a real weirdo about it?
Yeah, right. I'm a real weirdo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and tomorrow's Saturday the 14th.
That was a movie, wasn't that? That was Saturday the 14th, the movie. Did you ever see that?
Was
movie? It was like a horror movie,
but it was a parody, I thought.
Yeah, it was.
It was a horror comedy. Yes, comedy.
And Transylvania 65000. That was another movie. That's
right.
Yeah,
of just numbers. Yes.
Yeah.
I certainly don't dwell on it, but if it is easy to do, I think I might. Like, say it like if I'm getting on Southwest Airlines where you pick your own thing, if there was a row 13, there's a chance I might skip it just because, like, I'm not a superstitious person, but why tempt fate? I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. Like,
I don't
what's going to happen
until I do. Yeah.
On an airplane, you get in row 13. What is going to happen? Is just that slice of the plane going to fall out of the rest of the plane?
Yeah.
Nothing.
The anxiety mask will come down, but it'll be like filled with like Sprite. And I'll be like, oh no. Yeah. It'll just be my one seat. Even worse, probably like Sprite remix. Ugh. Yeah. So you're right. That doesn't make any sense at all. And yeah, like the 13th floor of a hotel doesn't disappear or fall in the ocean while 14 is doing great. You're right.
Just because you don't call it 13 doesn't mean it's not the 13th floor, right?
I know. That's the big sort of...
You can call it Dogface floor, and it's still going to be 13.
I would definitely avoid Dogface floor. That doesn't... And I would avoid that whole hotel, because I'd be like, what are you doing, Comfort Inn? Do you have any idea where this comes from? Fear of 13. Why 13 is so widely... Would you like to know two options?
No.
Okay.
Yes, of course. I would like to know two options.
All right. People aren't sure, but here are some guesses. One comes from our old pal, the Bible. At the Last Supper, where Jesus instituted the Eucharist and told his disciples that one of them was going to be a real jerk, there were 13 seats at the table. And who was sitting in the 13th seat? Judas. Oh, no. Judas, that old jerk, except... The Bible doesn't say where Judas sat. The Bible doesn't say where anyone sat. Even in Da Vinci's famous Last Supper painting, which I looked up, Judas is sitting in seat number 5. You can tell it's him because in his right hand has the little bag of silver. But Judas is often thought of as the 13th
so much about
guest.
what you're talking about right now. I have no idea. But little bag of silver, I don't even know what that means. You and I come from very different places.
Sorry, Judas betrayed Christ for a bag of silver.
Oh, okay.
And
all right.
Like a real jerk, brought it to the Last Supper, said Da Vinci. Know your place. It's so obvious.
What, this silver?
And it was marked betrayal coins. But so Judas is often thought as the 13th guest, and Jesus is largely thought of to have been crucified on a Friday. Thus, Friday the 13th. There you go. Doesn't really work. No one knows where Judas sat, and probably none of that ever happened. Numerologists say 13 is considered gross. That's their word, gross, because of its relation to the number right before it. Numerologists consider 12 to be a, quote, complete or, quote, perfect number. 12 months in a year, 12 signs of the zodiac, 12 gods of Olympus, 12 labors of Hercules. What? What's that? Okay, clearly I copy-pasted this. 12 tribes of Israel, 12 apostles of Jesus, 12 hours in a clock. It goes on and on and on. So 13 coming after 12 destroys the completeness. What do you think about that? I don't know.
I think, what do numerologists say of 14 and 15? Like, I don't know if they know this, but there are a lot of numbers after 12.
It really
are they all stupid?
Well, no, ironically, 15 is the sexiest number. Did you know that? You can look it up. I have two other really quick possibilities. just to rattle off. I found this in National Geographic magazine. Folklore historian Donald Dossie said there's an ancient Norse myth about 12 gods having a dinner party at Valhalla. Witness me. The uninvited 13th guest was that old cut-up Loki, and he walked in and right, and arranged for Hoder, the blind god of darkness, to shoot Balder the Beautiful, the god of joy and gladness, with a mistletoe-tipped arrow. So specific. Typical dinner party. Balder died and the whole earth got dark and everyone got sad. And so it made it an unlucky day. Finally, last one. In ancient Rome, witches were thought to meet in groups of 12. If there was a 13th witch there, it was the devil. That's just straight up stupid. All right.
Can I just answer? Can I do some real-time follow-up?
100%.
I know you're in the middle of a thing, but I think you made a joke, and I just need to level up the joke. It was about 15 being the sexiest number, and it turns out mathematicians disagree because I Googled, what is the sexiest number? And I actually found an answer, and it's in Wikipedia, of all places. The number is...
60s.
Well, it's a 6. The number is 6, and the term we're looking for is a sexy prime. Sexy prime numbers are prime numbers that differ from each other by 6. For example, the numbers 5 and 11 are both sexy primes because 11 minus 5 equals 6. The term sexy prime is a pun stemming from the Latin word for 6, sex. So.
Oh. What?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Numerologists.
Yeah.
Right. I'm starting to think they don't have jobs. Numerology is not a thing. Sitting around thinking about,
there you go,
like pin-ups of numbers in your bedroom. Weirdos.
Right.
I don't like it. So the reason I wanted to list those different potential causes is because if you do suffer from triskaidekaphobia or frigidicaphobia, therapists recommend you learn about its cultural history. To know that it comes from somewhere, and a bunch of dumb things like the Bible doesn't say. Also, they say to recognize that people have all kinds of superstitions, and that doesn't mean you have to have them too. For instance, you brought up something kind of close to this. The number 4 is unlucky in China because it sounds very similar to the word for dead.
No, that's right. It's not 13. It's 4.
Correct.
China. That's what it is. Yeah.
And number 13, you can 13 up and down the block in Italy because it's the number 17. This is exciting. The number 17 is unlucky in Italy because the Roman numerals XVII can be rearranged to VIXI. V meaning I have lived, which because it's in the past tense means you're dead. Hey, Italy, get outside more. Like, how hard did you have to work to make 17 scary? You just moved all the letters around and it says I have lived, which Italy. Yikes. Anyways.
Wow.
So what they're saying is, I think pretty much what they're saying, like therapists are like, A, stop it. B, just for once, but you're not alone. And just realize that everything comes from somewhere. And it's, if you can, and then the only real treatment for it, our old friend, exposure therapy, which I guess you just sit on row 13 a bunch. I don't know.
Count to 13.
Count to 13. 13 Skittles. 13
Skittles.
13 Skittles. Yeah. That's it.
13 toes.
13. Oh, well, all right. You've got a bigger problem. So that's all I have. Thank you so much, June, for writing in. I know June doesn't seem to suffer from this, and neither do you and your weird family, Pete. But in case anyone else is out there, there is a ton more research if you'd like to know more about where it comes from and why you don't necessarily have to choose to worry about it. But if you do,
ask Les Brown.
Ask Les Brown. Oh, play us out, Les.
Cause triskaidekaphobia's got me.
Thank you all so much for joining us for this episode. This week's tune is Coming Back Home by We Are the Good and Scooty Wop. Coming up next week. Wow.
Because I don't think I get involved, or maybe there is a weird taken Liam Neeson part of me that would be so offended, I think I would have to get involved. And that's going to be a lose-lose. I'm not taking anyone down. If anything, I will accidentally be like, fine, and I'll let myself out of the airplane. Like, no one's afraid of this guy.
Oh my God.
A lot of Americans have gotten more buoyant.
Are you talking to me right now?
Never! Of course not.
Jeez, man. What do you think?
Good.
Why are you just staring at me?
You were talking.
You're like a taxidermy dog.
You were... How dare you? I was using conversation face. Until then, I'm Tommy Mess III.
And I'm Pete Wright. Thanks for downloading. We'll be back next week on What's That Smell?
Coming back home. Coming back home. Y'all 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 coming back. Push it to the limit, I can't go no more.